In March 2026, the biggest sports medicine group in the world published a new set of guidelines for physical activity and specifically for strength training. And the headline is actually pretty good news. They're more flexible than ever. If you have prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, there's a little bit of a catch. These guidelines were written based on research in healthy adults, not based on research in adults with chronic diseases, specifically prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. But we do have some research on physical activity in these populations. So today we are going to dig into the research a little bit, and I'm going to explain exactly what applies to you and what you need to know about physical activity if you are trying to prevent or manage insulin resistance, prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, etc. Hey, I'm Kara. I'm a registered dietitian, and this channel is all about improving your blood sugar with no perfection required. If you're new here, I break down research and translate it into actionable advice that you can actually implement in your real life. It's like seeing a registered dietitian, even if you don't have the time or the money to do so in person. So here's what happened. The Academy of Sports Medicine, a really large international group of exercise scientists and doctors, put out their new consensus statement on physical activity and strength training. Think of a position statement like experts looking at all of the research that exists and saying, this is what we know when we look at everything together. And since these guidelines haven't been updated since 2009, we definitely have some new research to go off of. Now, the group of scientists looked at 137 different studies, which included over 300,000 people total, which is already a good sign that this is going to be a high quality output or consensus statement. And the takeaway was refreshingly simple. The biggest health benefits come from doing no strength training, which is the case for most American adults, to doing any strength training at all. Bodyweight squats in your living room while you're watching TV totally counts. Resistance bands count. Dumbbells count. A basic gym routine counts. You don't need a complicated plan or to spend hours a day in the gym to see real health benefits from strength training that are completely separate from anything that might be happening to your body aesthetically. You're going to get more muscle, more strength. You're going to get better balance, better metabolic function, better lifelong health. Now, fewer than 1 in 3 Americans are actually doing the recommended amount of strength training, so I bet if you're watching this, there's some room for improvement, but that doesn't mean you need to strive for perfection. If you have prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, there's a little bit of a catch when it comes to the recommendations in this consensus statement because they did not include studies that included people with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. There's actually a different set of guidelines from 2022 written by this same group, the American College of Sports Medicine, that only includes folks with prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to kind of combine the recommendations from these two consensus statements and tell you, as a person who may be experiencing elevated blood sugar, insulin resistance, what you need to know about strength training. So what did I find between the consensus statement for the everyday healthy person with no pre-existing conditions and the consensus statement for people with type 2 diabetes? Really only one major difference in recommendations. Doing any amount of strength training is better than doing none at all. But just do anything stops being enough for folks who are dealing with insulin resistance and elevated blood sugar. The 2022 consensus statement got a little bit more specific, which makes sense because the population is a little bit more specific. And what they found was that in people with insulin resistance, prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, higher intensity strength training works better than low intensity or moderate intensity strength training for blood sugar and insulin, as well as increasing strength. Now, when we talk about low intensity, moderate intensity, and high intensity when it comes to strength training, it's not exactly the same as when we're talking about cardio, where we really only think about like how hard we're breathing and how fast we're going. How fast we're going can absolutely contribute to intensity in strength training, but it can also mean weight and reps and sets. Research has shown that lighter weight for more reps works just about as well as a heavier weight for fewer reps at purely building muscle. However, if managing blood sugar is your specific goal, you need to be pushing yourself a little bit harder to see the best result. Now, there are some like physiology, mechanism reasons that this is probably true. I'm not going to explain them in this video, but if you want that video, leave me a comment and I will put it on my list. I'm also going to record a video where I talk about the 5 different ways to increase your intensity in strength training. So if you want to see that video, maybe consider subscribing, hit the bell to be notified when that video actually comes out. A couple more specifics from the 2022 diabetes specific consensus statement. When thinking about strength training for managing blood sugar, you should aim for 2 to 3 days a week of strength training on non-consecutive days. They also recommend going for a short walk or getting some movement in immediately after meals to start allowing the muscle that you have to clear the blood of sugar without insulin. That is a very important mechanism for reversing and maintaining healthy blood sugar levels. They also found that exercise sessions of 45 minutes or longer give the most consistent blood sugar benefits, but that doesn't mean that if you're exercising for less than 45 minutes that you're getting no benefits. Again, remember, we are not talking about perfection here. If you can't do 2 or 3 non-consecutive days of strength training, you only have time or the capacity to do strength training, say, Saturday and Sunday, that is better than nothing. If you only have the ability to move around after 1 meal a day, that is better than nothing. What you do most of the time is going to be far more effective than what you can only do every once in a while. Now, you know what they recommend. Let's talk about the results that they found that led to these recommendations. These are coming directly from the consensus statement that looked at people with elevated blood sugar. 1, better insulin sensitivity. And that's kind of the whole game here. Your body is going to be able to use less insulin to clear your blood of sugar when you have more muscle mass. If you want to know how that actually happens, the science behind it, I have another video that explains it that I will link just at the top of this video. Number 2, they saw improvements in blood pressure and cholesterol. And that is important because type 2 diabetes is directly linked to cardiovascular disease. And cardiovascular disease remains the leading cause of death in people with type 2 diabetes. Number 3, they found an increase in bone density. Having more muscle mass and stronger bones has been shown to increase our health span, in addition to our lifespan. But we don't just want to be alive for many, many years. We want to be living the years that we are alive. And so our health span looks at, how functional and what our quality of life is like as we age. And muscles, bone density, very important there. Specifically, the data shows somewhere between 10 and 15% improvements in those health markers with added strength training. And in people with type 2 diabetes specifically, that strength training is linked to about a 28% lower risk of dying from anything, and 32% lower risk of dying from heart disease, which again is that cardiovascular disease that I said is the leading cause of death among type 2 diabetics. So it's not just better numbers on paper, it's real, noticeable improvements in your health. The practical takeaways are: 1, don't wait. Don't wait for the perfect time or the perfect program or the perfect outfit to start strength training. Any resistance training at all beats none. Number 2, if you are trying to manage your blood sugar, you are going to see better results through higher intensity strength training. Push the intensity when you're able to. Aim for 2 to 3 sessions per week, even if it's just some squats or some push-ups in your living room. And try to do a little bit of movement right after your meals. If you do those 3 things consistently, which probably means imperfectly, and you are going to see results. Last point here. Neither set of guidelines specifies what exercise you need to do, what implements you need to use, where you need to do them. This is just further proof that there is no perfection required. You don't have to do the same thing that everybody else is doing. You don't have to do the movements that make one person look a certain way. The movements, the type of strength training, the place where you do that strength training, it should make sense for your real life, not somebody else's. The best exercise is the one that you'll do, period. So I will see you in the next one, where I'm gonna break down another paper that tries to lay out about how much time you need to spend strength training per week to see the best results. I'm also gonna talk about 5 different ways to increase the intensity in your workouts so that you can hit that high intensity recommendation. And I'm going to lay out some of my favorite workout plans that may be of interest to you. Everything from free and basic to a fee and advanced. Now, if this video was useful to you at all, I would so love if you subscribed to the channel, both because it's the single best thing that you can do to support the content that I'm making here, but also because there's so much more evidence-based nutrition content that is going to help you have better blood sugar with no perfection required.